All right, Mom, can you state your full name and your birthday?
Kathleen Mary Zitch. That's it.
Her birthday is June 19th, 1950.
Okay.
And your parents, your mom and dad, they were born in the early 1900s. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So your father, Clyde Williams, he was in the First World War, or was he in the Second World War too?
He may have been in the second, but I'm pretty sure that he wasn't in the. Well, no. Wait a minute. He would have probably, but had it at the beginning. But then it was full bore when it was ready to be over with.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, he was in World War II.
Yeah.
And he was in the Army, right?
He was in
On
the Army.
Army Air Force at the time.
Right.
And what about your mom?
She was just a housewife.
Just a housewife.
Uh-huh.
And then, can you tell me a little bit more about your family on your mom and dad's side, like as far as siblings and stuff?
Well, there was Stephen and Mark and my sister Janine. Bill was her husband. Trying to think of what else. Jerry.
Did your mom have any sisters or brothers?
She did. She had, I think, 2 sisters.
Okay.
That was it. I think of that.
And then your father, did he have any siblings?
Yes, he did. I can't remember his name, but he had only one son.
Okay, so he had a brother.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then, do you know a little background of where your dad came from? Didn't he live in Potosi?
Yes, I think so. He
Is
did.
that where he grew up?
Yeah, and he moved this way because he was needing a job, and the job was it was a big company that he.
Didn't he work for Kodak?
No, it wasn't Kodak. It was I can't think of it, but he did it. He did it for 50 years.
And that was after he got back from the war, or did he work there prior to the war?
It was to the war. I mean, after the war.
Okay.
Because, yeah, he
Okay.
needed a job.
And then, do you know where Grandma? Do you know where she was originally from?
I think she was in the country, down in the country of, in there.
So was she near where Grandpa was from, Potosi, or did she live somewhere else?
Yeah, it was Potosi.
Okay, so Potosi, Missouri. And then they met. Can you tell me a little bit about what life was like for you? You were born in 1950.
Right.
So there was a lot of changes going on in our country at that time because we were adjusting to life after World War II.
Right.
But we were also nearing the time of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit what life was like for you growing up as a child and teenager?
Well, teenager it was okay, I guess. I really didn't care for school.
I do believe that you told me once that for you, for instance, like math, you stopped at 8th grade. You didn't have to take math in high school and things like that. Whereas today, kids have to take math and all of those classes all the way through.
Right.
So, so you didn't have to take all those courses. So do you feel like you wish they would have?
I wish they would have, but I guess they thought that they had enough, and so we didn't need any more. But
Well, can you tell me about what the environment was like in those days? Was it still very much women worked in the home and the man had a job, or was it at that point that things were changing where more women were working outside of the home?
yes, because Dad, he went his job and he did his job every single day. Um, and the mom finally even came back into that room, and she was in the, what do you call it? It was in the store, and she had that with the store.
So she was a cashier?
Cashier or even whatever else they needed in the room. So that's what they did.
So women did work outside
They
of the
did.
home at that time. Okay.
Right.
And can you kind of tell me a little bit of like what was clothing like back then? Like what, because even then it was starting to change. And
Right.
I know you said when you were in school you had to still wear skirts and stuff, and that they had to be the length of your arms when you were and then if you were kneeling, your skirt had to touch the floor. So it was
Right.
still relatively modest even back
It
then.
was.
Did that change by the end of the time that you got done with high school?
Yes, it did, because towards the end, we were having our skirts a whole lot shorter. So they, but that was okay now. And so that's what we did, and pretty much everybody was doing the same thing, so they couldn't, and that was it on that one.
Yeah. Yet the older generation, such as your parents, they still try to dress their best
Right,
no matter what. So
Right.
there was that almost generation gap there where you had those that were pre 60s and 70s
Right.
mentality that were still very much, you looked conservative
Yes.
and you dressed your best 100%, and then your generation moving up and you were a little more, would say, less conservative, willing to wear pants and other things like that. It was just a very different mentality.
right. But the thing that happened from that was because the at school, you had to do the same thing. You couldn't go past it. But their skirts were getting shorter than longer.
And were the girls starting to wear pants?
Now at that point, but as it was going on, then more and more people were allowing us to have that. And I think some of it was because of the winter and all that, and that, so it had to have long legs, to wear. But then after that, it became the same thing. It was okay, we can do whatever we want to do.
And did you ride a school bus to school?
Yes, I did.
And then what about your parents? Like, since it was the early 1900s when they went to school, very early 1900s, was that still in the days where they were walking to school every day?
Some of them did. Because like in the city or something, you could walk to school. But as it went out into the higher church places to go to, then they were having to walk to where they were going longer. And I think that's why they started using buses.
Buses. So did Grandpa, your dad, did he walk to school?
No,
He didn't.
no, I think what they did over there was that the people took the cars together and then they rode to where they had to go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so because Dad did drive a car. So he probably drove one or two people from that place to the next building.
Okay. What about, I know you were Lutheran, right? So was your mom and dad both Lutheran, or?
Mom was a Lutheran, and I think Dad was, but it wasn't really, doing it real exciting.
So he wasn't strong in his
strong enough in his
belief. Okay.
right.
So that is why you were originally Lutheran, but then you changed to Baptist
Right.
back in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Um, can you tell me a little bit of the reason why you became Baptist?
I'm thinking that one of the things was someone that I knew that was going to it, and I just decided, well, maybe I'll try this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of the things that did happen during that time. They said, well, let's try this one or this one, because it was kind of changing over that time. And so I stayed over there where I was. And then I think I went to, what do we call ourselves now?
Baptist.
Baptist.
And then, do you still have like any? I know you have a lot of old photographs
Yeah.
of Grandpa when he was younger and some of his family.
Yeah.
But did you have like any heirlooms from not when you were a child, but heirlooms that were your mother or father's when they were younger?
Honestly, I don't know, because we were younger, and they may have taken more. And
Didn't Grandma pass down to you like some kind of brooch though?
yes, he did, but I don't know if I know it where it is now, which happens a lot in things like that.
Trying to think. So, I know, again, like we said, Grandpa was born, Clyde was born back in the early 1900s. So he went through the Great Depression and all that kind of stuff.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Dad was in the war too,
Okay.
because I don't think he was married to his wife at that point, but he was in the war.
Okay. And now you later on, let's fast forward to the 60s and 70s. Do you remember the year that you met Tony, your first husband?
It would have been in our younger ages. It would be like kids.
So were you late teens or were you early 20s?
May have been 20s, early 20s.
Okay, and what were you doing at the time, work-wise? And
I was working at the school, not the school, at the, where you buy your clothing and all.
so clothing store,
Yeah.
department store?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you meet Tony? Because it was before he left for Vietnam, right?
Right. I think, yeah. Because that side hasn't really, it never really came around. I don't know. I know he went into the war, and then he came back, but nothing was going on after that, so.
But how did you meet Tony? Was it?
I think it was because, I think it's possibly, we wanted to have husbands. So our friends were looking at men at where they have, what do you call that place? You should know it.
The USO.
USO. We'd always go to the USO and watch everybody and look at the guys, and that's where I found him.
And then you guys had known each other for 2 weeks, and then he was shipped off to Vietnam.
Vietnam.
And then how did you guys communicate when you were at Vietnam?
Basically, drawing, making letters, calling letters up and then sending them out to them, and that's how we got together and got even closer. And so we were seeing each other after that when the war went out. And but
And then when the war was over is when he came back,
right.
and then you guys got married shortly after that, right?
didn't last long, but that can happen real quick. Because in those days, every girl wanted a husband, and so they were at them all the time. Because there was I forget what they